Hello and good morning. Good morning to everyone. I hope your day started off well. I hope you had a good night's rest. Today we are on another episode of Reading Through the Bible. And if you were with us last week or if you were not with us last week, we'll do a small little recap and then we will go forward. So last week we found out that there was a great people that decided that they wanted to build a tower to heaven. It was called the Tower of Babel, and it was located in the land of Shinar, which is known as Babylonia. So that's where we get Babylon. Hello, Mr. Freddie B. How are you doing this morning? Good to see you. So they end up building a tower to get to heaven, and the Lord looked down. He said, "Oh, no, no, no." This is what people do when they get together like this. So he decided that he was going to separate them and confound their language so that every nation had its own language. And that's pretty much what we see today, although we see um, quite a bit of derivatives from those original languages, but nonetheless, that's what happened. So the descendants of Shem, which Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. As you know, Ham was the father of Cush, which is what we know as Ethiopia. You have Mizraim, which is what we know as Egypt, and Put, which is Libya, but he also had a son named Canaan. Ham decides that on a night where his dad had gotten drunken, he was going to take advantage, and he did what was called uncovering his father's nakedness, which in biblical terms, that means that he looked upon his mother. The way the text reads, it seems as though he had relations with his mother, and from there, God curses Canaan. Okay, and he tells Canaan that he is going to be a servant of his brothers. Shem, however, had a son named Enos, and at the time that Enos was born, that's when men began to call on the name of the Lord. So Shem is who God brings a man named Abraham through. And Abraham is also called by the Lord. And so we saw last week that Abraham and his nephew Lot had a great bit of wealth, even to the point where Abraham's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen began to fight. And so they decided they would separate themselves. Abram took the land of Canaan, and Lot took Sodom and Gomorrah. We always say Sodom and Gomorrah, but they're actually two different cities. But Lot took the land of Sodom, which it's also told to us that the men of Sodom were very, very wicked. Okay, but that's where they both land, and that's where we ended off last week. So today we're going to start with Genesis chapter 14. And we're going to read starting with the War of the Kings. So again, if you want to follow along, you can grab your Bibles, you can grab a pen and paper. And that's what we'll be starting today. All right. And it came to pass in the days of Amphrael, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Eleazar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the valley of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea, which, from my understanding, is also the Dead Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth, Canarim, and the Zezims in Ham, and the Emims in Sheba Kiriathaim. And if I'm not mistaken, those are also tribes of giants. And the Horites in the Mount Seir unto El Param, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to Enimishpah, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Harazon Tamar. And there went out of the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zoabim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar, and they joined the battle with them in the valley of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of the nations, and Rephaim, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Eleazar, 4 kings with 5. So there were 4 kings against 5 kings. And the valley of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought back again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him, at the valley of Sheba, which is King's Dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram, the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which has delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand unto the Lord and the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take of thy thread, even to the shoe latch, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldst say, I have made Abram rich. Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing as though I am childless, and the steward of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given me no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thy heir, but he that shall come forth from thy own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now towards the heavens, and tell the stars, that if thou be able to number them. And he said unto them, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it unto him for righteousness. Now, this is how people were, quote, saved back in the day, because, of course, Jesus had not come to the earth yet. So their simple task was literally believing in the Lord and following him, and it was counted unto them for righteousness. Verse 7. And he said unto them, I am the Lord that brought thee out of the Ur of Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And they shall afflict thee 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with a great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaims, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgasites, and the Jebusites. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold, now the Lord has restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her own eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into my bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and thee. And Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her all that pleases you. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, where do you come from? And where do you go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress and submit thyself unto her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, and it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand will be against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me, for she said, Have I also here looked after him that sees me? Wherefore the well was called, Beer Lahoroi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. Now I'm going to take a small pause right here, because this is where the conflict arises between God's people and Ishmael, which turns out to be the Muslims. So if you have ever studied Islam at all, you know that they claim, and they're right about it, they claim to be the descendants of Ishmael. However, because God also promised to make Ishmael a great nation, they take that as he is the chosen child. Okay. We're going to see later on that that's not the case, but if you ever see the conflict between, I'm going to just say Christians and the Muslims, it's at this point right here. It's between who is the chosen child through which Christ ends up coming from, the salvation ends up coming from. Alrighty. Chapter 17, verse 1. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Hear that? He said, my covenant will be with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God has said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant before thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or brought with money, or any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she will be a mother of nations. King of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 99 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day, as God said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 18 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house born in the house and bought with money of the stranger were circumcised with him. He said, Cam the King, nice cat, nice caught you while I'm out on the river. Oh, okay, fishing in the boat with the dogs. Good start of the day. Good to hear. It sounds so peaceful. It sounds so peaceful. Okay, so once again, just to reiterate, he establishes the covenant with Isaac. And although again, he made Ishmael fruitful and multiplied him, the covenant was with Isaac. They were the ones that will follow his commandments. As we know. As we know. Okay, I think I'm gonna read once more. We'll see how this goes. Okay, starting at chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and water your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts, After that ye shall pass on. And therefore are you come to your servant? And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto the young men, and hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, as they did, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women, meaning she was past childbearing years. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for God? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou did laugh. I think this is pretty. Sarah is the illustration of a doubter. Okay. Her husband had been speaking with the Lord, had gotten a promise from the Lord, but Sarah did not believe. And what did she do when she didn't believe? She ended up giving her husband over to another woman. The other woman ends up conceiving a child because she's like, okay, well, I don't have no children, so the Lord can't make a great nation, out of me and my husband. So I'm going to give my husband over to another woman, and he's going to produce this great nation that he was promised through her. And then when Hagar ends up getting pregnant, she ends up getting mad. She ends up getting very, very upset about it, about the choice that she ends up making. And so, of course, the Lord doesn't throw her away. She blesses Hagar. And he also comes back and says, Sarah, I'm still going to bless you. I'm still going to do what I promised. He didn't go back on his word and say, okay, well, since Sarah did this thing, I'm going to just, go through Hagar's son. No, he still promises her that the child is going to come through her. So that just goes to show we got to wait on the Lord, because we do stuff and we mess stuff all up. And then we get mad at the Lord when things are all messed up. I think I'm going to read one more. I think I'm going to read one more verse just so we can get ready for next week. But hopefully you guys are understanding so far. He said, don't pay the Jewish handyman. He keeps just a tip at birth. Yeah. I know people have issues with the circumcision, but number one, these are rules that God was making with his people for a reason. Number one, to set them apart from everybody else. But do you not think that the Lord has a reason for why he wants us to do things? Again, there's different sides of the aisle, but there's also been a lot of health reasons that have been shown as to why circumcision, is a thing. So anyway, I'm not going to go into that today, but yeah, I'm not going to go into that today. All right, chapter 18, verse 16. And the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken unto him. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. So here we have, this is just to show us when we're crying out to God and people are complaining about things that are happening in the land, the Lord hears us. And he comes down here and he checks it out to see what's going on. When his people are crying, there's theft and there's murder and there's all kinds of, they're trying to turn our children every which way. He hears us and he comes down here and he checks it out and then he judges based on it. And the men turned their faces from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for 50 righteous that are within? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all earth do right? And the Lord said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto you, Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Will thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? Meaning if there are 45 people, will you still destroy it? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he said, and he spake again unto him, saying, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall be 30 found there. And he said, I will not do it if there are 30. And he said, Behold now, I have taken unto me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angered. I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. And there came 2 angels to Sodom and at even, and Lot sat at the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go your ways. And they said, No, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed them greatly. So these are the angels of the Lord. They had come into the city, and Lot is bidding them to come inside the house. But the angels are like, No, we're not going to go. We're going to stay out in the street. And he pressed unto them greatly, and they turned into him and entered into his house, and he made them a feast and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed round about the house, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out, so that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after them and said, I pray you, brother, do not do so wickedly. Behold, now mind you, bring them out so that we may know them is not so we can shake hands and ask them their name and what they like to do for fun. It's to know them, to, you know what I mean, to get into bed with them. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do you to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto the men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs to be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son in law, and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxed great because of the face of the Lord. And the Lord sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons in law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get ye out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons in law. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand and upon the hand of his daughter, upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hands of his 2 daughters, and the Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in a saving of my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing, that I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape there, for I cannot do anything till thou become there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city and that which grew upon of the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked upon Sodom and Gomorrah and toward the land of the plain, and behold, look, the smoke of the country went up as a smoke of furnace. And it came to pass when the Lord destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in the which Lot dwelt. Okay, I know that was a lot, but we see here that Abraham begged the Lord, like, hey, if there's 50 people that are righteous in the city, please don't destroy it. And the Lord was like, okay, if there's 50, I won't destroy it. And so Abraham kept bargaining with God, lessening the number. Okay, what about if we find 40? What if we find 35? To the point that he has to get down to 10. Abraham has to get down to 10 people. If there's 10 righteous people in the city, please don't destroy it, Lord. Obviously, he couldn't even find 10 righteous people, because what happened? Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Okay, so that's how wicked this city was. And because the Lord had already promised that he was going to save Abraham's family, he also saved Lot, who was living in Gomorrah. Okay, so he warned Lot, get out of this place, I'm about to destroy it. And so Lot grabbed his family, and he actually begged him to go to a place that was a little closer, because he felt if he had to go even further out, then he might not make it and he might die on the way. So the Lord let him go to a closer city. However, Lot's wife decided that she was going to look back, meaning that she was already reminiscent about what they were leaving, and she was supposed to be moving to new levels. And so she ends up turning to a pillar of salt. Now, I'm not going to say the cool thing about it, but I think I've even had a video on here about it, but Sodom and Gomorrah are one of the places where you find salt naturally. It's like one of the only places where salt is at. So this is just it just pretty much corroborates what the Bible is saying, that this is a place where brimstone, and if you know what brimstone is just sulfur and fire. So salt and fire rain down, and it becomes really sticky. It sticks to your body, it sticks to the ground, and it's really not a good thing that you want to have to endure. You said, Miski said, I do think it's interesting that the phrase know them parallel the idea of knowing God, the sexual union signifying that of the spiritual union. Yes, definitely. Yes, but yeah, I wouldn't say that we're having a sexual union with God, but I definitely understand what you're saying. We become, yeah, and it is said that Adam knew Eve. Exactly. So I know there's always argument about, oh, well, no, they just weren't being hospitable. That is not what Sodom and Gomorrah was about. Hospitality is not, or lack of hospitality is not wickedness. They were trying to get to know these men, and they encompassed the house trying to get to know these men, which is crazy. He said, it is incredible that zesty stuff was going on back when God was actually talking to people. Exactly. Which is why, later on, obviously New Testament, you see, as in the days of Noah and Lot, so will be the days when the Son of Man returns. This is what was going on back then. We see it at a high level right now. To be honest, I don't even know if our generation is worse or Lot and them's generation is worse. I can't even imagine it being worse than what's now, but we never know. So that is what happened between from the time that God began his covenant with Abraham, and now he's about to take him on a journey. Pretty much, Abraham is going to be following God's commandments, and he's going to, bring his generation. I'm not going to tell the tell the story, but we'll get into that. So next week we're going to start with the sin of Lot's daughters. Okay, the sin of Lot's daughters. That will be actually let me read a few more verses, because this is finishing off verse chapter 19. I apologize, and then we'll start with verse. I can't talk today. We'll start with chapter 20 next week. Okay. So Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down or when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the first bare a son and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son and called his name Ben-ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. Okay. We're going to learn a lot about the Moabites and the Ammonites. Okay, so chapter 20, we'll start with Abraham and Abimelech. 3 sons says the Ashkenazi European Jews in Israel and United States are not Hebrew. It's forbidden for them to take the DNA test, and it's no secret either. Research, dig deep, you'll find spirit of truth. I think that is pretty clear, seeing as though the Lord already told us that there are Jews that call themselves Jews, but they're not Jews. They're actually the synagogue of Satan. So I definitely um, agree with that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Benjamin Netanyahu is Polish. His real name is Malak. Malak. Oh, sorry, I cannot pronounce that. I'm gonna call him. Is it Malowski? And all the prime minister European changed their Hebrew names, and again, it's no secret either. I mean, yeah, and that's where the. I mean, we know that's where the conflict between Israel and Palestine is right now. But and there are some people that know it, and when they speak about it, they get shut down out of the mainstream media, and then you know. All right. Any questions about the reading today? Any words that need to be defined? If not, we will commence the reading for today and start again next week. You said, Freddie B, are you going to talk about the things they found under the pyramids tomorrow? Yes, we can definitely talk about that. I feel like I've been in conversations about that for a few weeks. So yeah, we'll bring that. We will bring that to the forefront, Freddie B. That'll be one of the first things we talk about. So hopefully you're there to bring some good information. Yes, yes. Any other questions? You said just stay. Y'all listen, I can't read today. You giving me all these big words. No, I'm playing, but some words I don't know. Just as Menachem Mendel is that Sneerson, he's a Russian Jew, came from Russia to America, and he's never been to Israel at all. I'm trying to use my words wisely. I think it's interesting what people claim and what they won't claim. Like it, pretty much in all ways they deny God. In our faces, they deny it they deny him all which way, but then at the same time they want to be his descendants. It's just really, really weird to me. I have my glasses on, nope. But I'm like, what is that word? I do not know what. Yeah, some of these words are a hot mess to me, girl from the South, but no, it's okay. Netanyahu, isn't he is it a Kanye East action figure? That is crazy. Yeah, he's very interesting. But yeah, I just think it's interesting that they want to be his descendants. They want to act like there's this holy grail and they're all, related to Jesus in a way, but then at the same time they deny him. He said read Acts 7:43 or Revelation 2:3 or 3:9 or Amos 5:25, 27 or Rampham. Exactly. Exactly. Because the Rimfam, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but they were descendants of giants, which, according to people that follow the Anunnaki and all that kind of stuff, they were giving them all the secrets of the heavens and stuff like that, and teaching them how to observe other idols and different things. So yeah, but just so that we're here, um, and you're putting it in the comments, let me go to so that people understand what we're talking about, just in case you don't have a Bible on you. Okay, so Acts 7:43. Sorry, let me flip. Okay, so Acts 43 says, yeah, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch, the star of your god Remphan, figures which he made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. So once again, this is just really going back to the idea that Babylon is where all this started. Babylon was Nimrod's nation. That's where they built the Tower of Babel. And so when you ever hear like mystery schools and things like that, this is where all in that area, this is where all that comes from. This is where they were going underground and learning how to do all this weird worship of the dark arts. Revelation 2:9 says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Okay, that's one that we should know. Revelation 3:9 says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Okay, and then lastly, Amos. Amos is one of the prophets. He doesn't have a really big book, but he definitely has a lot of information. I think it's okay. Okay, so Amos 5:25 says, have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offering in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of Moloch and Shuan, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, says the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. Yes, or the Solomon symbol, exactly. And that's why a lot of occult practices come from, or they claim that it comes from Solomon. Because if you know, Solomon lost favor with God because God told him not to be marrying all them women. Solomon was one of the wisest. He was the wisest, actually. He was the wisest. He actually prayed to God for wisdom, but then he started marrying all these wives. The Lord told him not to. He warned Solomon that they were going to turn his heart away, and he was going to start following idols, and that's exactly what he did. So if you notice, all the occult, they all worship Solomon. They have like Solomon's magic. There's the lesser keys of Solomon. There's all kinds of stuff all pertaining to Solomon. He said, or India has a symbol too. Yeah, on their temples. It goes back at least 5,000 years. Yep, we're going to be talking about Hinduism here soon. I am writing as we speak. Saturn symbol too, if you use the design on the north of planet. Yep. Saturn is a big one. Saturn is a big one. I can say one thing about Benji Yahoo. He's no native Polish man. He absolutely has a Middle Eastern phenotype, which isn't true of all Jews. And then you say on George Galloway and Jim Dore show did it too about Benjamin Netanyahu, who is Polish. Yeah. Don't know too. Yeah. Finally, people knew this too from the beginning. Oh yeah, and that's the thing, right? People make it seem like people back in ancient times weren't smart, like they didn't know this stuff. They knew this stuff. They absolutely knew this stuff. They talked about it, and of course, they didn't always write it down because writing wasn't that big back in the day. Eventually it was, but at first, everything was oral tradition. They knew the nations that were following God. They knew the nations that were following idols. They knew this stuff. They knew who the God. Again, I read a book when I was first learning about the serpent and divination. I read this book. Can't quite remember the title, but it was pretty much something about African thought. I hate that I cannot remember the name, but anyways, they literally said in the book, we knew who the real God was. We left him to follow off and practice ophiomancy, which is divination by serpent. They literally said this. I'm like, man, y'all are bold with this. So, but I think all this is to throw people off. All the prime ministers changed their names to Hebrew research hidden in plain sight. I definitely will. We'll have to do a little list and see where these people come from. But it's to throw us off. And the Bible warns about that too, following these little vain genealogies. And where does that name come from? Hold on, let me look that up right quick. Malakama. Malakowski origin. I'm just gonna see where this name comes from, right? Wait, is this his dad? Is Benzion Netanyahu that guy's dad? Because it says Polish-born Israeli encyclopedist, historian. Yeah, he's the father of him. Okay. Oh, look at this. Oh, I'm saying, look at this like it's on the screen. But he was born. Okay, so this guy's dad was born in Warsaw, Poland, which was under Russian control, to Sarah and the writer and the Zionist activist Nathan Michalowski, however you say. So his dad was a Zionist. Oh yeah, they definitely trying to trick folk. They are definitely trying to trick people. Nathan was a rabbi who toured Europe and the United States making speeches supporting Zionism. In 1920, the Michalowski family immigrated to Mandatory Palestine and changed their surname to Netanyahu. Oh my goodness. It was a common practice for Zionist immigrants at the time to adopt a Hebrew name. My. Thank you, Three Sons, for that. Yeah, they definitely tried to. They're definitely trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. These are Zionists hiding like wolves in sheep's clothing. My goodness, that's crazy. All right, y'all. All right. Okay, well, if there are no further questions for today, I would thank you so much for everyone who joins in. We are reading from generation. We are reading from Genesis to Revelation. This is live and question and answer. So if you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Whether it's you don't know what a word means, you need some further scripture to expound on the thought. Whatever it is, please do so. We will meet again next week for reading through the Bible at 10, and I will see you guys tomorrow night for Take Me Down a Rabbit Hole. Thank you, each and every person. Hope you have a great rest of your day.